Hey, we're going to walk through today, just in case we have problems with Zoom or for some other reason this is useful. Here we are on today's Science Tuesday page because today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Here's some scientists. Welcome to science. Today will be a day of introduction. We will be entering the microscopic realm, this unit to study cells. Let's get going. Whatever it is, we will figure it out together. We work together in this class. So let's do it. Okay, over here in this white space, you'll find useful resources. And this light yellow space will always be the today you will. So what are we doing today? Today you will ask the question, what does it mean to be alive? 2, learn about our end goal, the cell model project. Cool. 3, stretch break. 4, learn about cells in general. You can watch this brain pop. 5, if time, explore how small is a cell or the Allen Institute 3D cell visualizer. Yeah, like that first time. 6, if time, learn about one part of the cell. I don't think we're going to get to do that, but you never know. Okay, so what is a cell? The smallest unit of life. Who you gonna tell? Everyone in my life. Where are we? Okay, what does it mean to be alive? Can we look at this together, please? So this is a presentation. You can use Canvas to click through it. Sometimes I find that to be a little hokey, so I want to make it full screen and do it that way. It's a little easier. Okay. So simple question, folks. What does it mean to be alive? But not so easy to answer. So I will show you some things we can all agree are alive. Like a plant, definitely alive. No question there. Bacteria, and this crazy looking single cell giant organism that's eating these bacteria. They're definitely alive. Like, we know they're alive because I tell you and because you've heard it, but like, what does that really mean? And then of course, this cat and the human hiding in the cardboard box, also definitely alive. How are all of these things and everything else that you know is alive, how is it all alive? Like, can we nail it down what that means? So take a moment and consider how all of these things are alive. Try to come up with a list of things they all share, that they have in common, that makes them all have this shared characteristic of being alive. You can pause the video here. I'm going to fill time a little bit, and then you'll find me. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. Are you sure? Are you ready? Did you spend enough time thinking? Are you ready? You can pause now because here it comes. So something is considered alive if it has all of these characteristics. This is what scientists have come up with, what lots of people who talk about this and think about this have come up with. Some non-living things have some of these or even many of these characteristics. You have to have all of them to be really considered alive. So it has to be very organized, it has to use energy, it has to grow, it has to respond to the world, it has to reproduce, have offspring, babies, children, whatever. It has to evolve, and it has to be able to maintain its state of life, or have some sort of, which we call homeostasis, like come back to normal when things get a little out of whack, basically. We're going to focus on just these first 5. It is okay in science to sometimes say, or in life too, like, let's focus on the big picture first. I can come back to the other 2 later, but these 5 we really want to understand first. So 1, it's very organized, and I mean in structure. Like, you think about the cat, it has ears to hear, eyes to see, a nose to smell, fur to keep it warm, paws, 4 feet, it's so on and so on and so on. All these things that make it able to do the things that it does, very organized. But the same is true with a plant, is very organized, stems, stalk, leaves, roots, all these different parts. The way that water moves through the inside of a plant, because there are little crazy looking tubes if you really dig in there, a lot of organization there. And what about these tiny individual organisms? They're organized. They have an outer protective coat. There's little, we'll get to do more about single cells later on, but there's a lot of organization there to allow it to exist the way it exists. Life has to be organized. It has to be organized so we can do everything that it does. To, like, number 1, use energy. I mean, you can think about this as like, it eats and then does something with that power that it ate. Like, we eat and that allows us to have the energy to move around. But a lot of things use energy in different ways. So you have to be a little bit more broad. It grows. All of these things do grow. Sure. Yep. There's this conversation about movement. Does all life have to move? And then you start to wonder, like, do plants really move around? No, kind. So we say grows because it's a little bit more broad. But they change shape. It's able to grow and develop. So we say grows. 4 is respond to the world. This also kind of gets in with that whole movement thing. Life has to be able to respond to the world in order to really be considered life. Respond doesn't mean speak back. It just means like it is interacting. It is dealing with the world. So plants grow towards the light. Animals are able to feel pain and avoid it, or smell food, like all these different things that involve responding to the world. Even a bacteria, you can tell just by looking at that these organisms are trying to not get eaten, or in this case, trying to eat. Like there is response going on, there's interaction going on. It's able to sense its outside surroundings in some way, and then change the behavior in order to better live or better deal with the situation. And then 5 is very important. It must reproduce. It must be able to have offspring. Now, just because you don't have a child, that doesn't mean that you're not alive. But life, something that is considered alive, like a cat, is able to have a child. In general, is able to have offspring. And so anything to be alive must be able to reproduce. We're actually not going to talk about 6 and 7 right now. We can talk about that later if you're curious, but let's focus on these 5. How is a cat organized? Just like, if you want to spend a little time thinking about it. How about a plant? How about these tiny microscopic single-celled organisms? Just by looking at them, you can tell there's a lot of things going on here. And they are doing all of these things. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed that presentation. Let's check out our today. We'll learn about our end goal. It's next, cell model project. So everyone is going to make, at the end of this unit, some sort of representation of their knowledge of what a cell is and how it works together, all the different parts, how they work together. It's a really fun project. I've had people make a scratch presentation, a PowerPoint. I've had someone make a diorama of a city. I've had someone bake a cake and make a video about the cake. I even had someone just make a video where they had everyone in their family like be a part of the cell, and it was really fun. There's all different ways to make it. The whole point is that it's going to show that you know the different parts of a cell, what their jobs are, what they do, kind of how they work. So you should be thinking, a little bit about that now, and you'll have more thoughts about that later. Don't stress. We have to learn the cell and the parts of the cell before we can think about this project. But you should know, like, that's where we're headed. 3, stretch break. Okay, if you're watching the video, you should pause now and stretch. And then come back. And now you're back. Number 4, learn about cells in general. You will watch this brain pop. So there's the brain pop. So I have this presentation, what is cells, and you're going to watch this brain pop. So you could watch the brain pop now, you could watch my presentation now, but what's really important is that you know that our assignment for today is to complete a journal entry based on the brain pop, based on the idea that there are lots of different kinds of cells. You're going to pick 2, draw a picture of them, write about them, and you're going to write down in your journal entry that a cell is the smallest unit of life. That's kind of, we're just getting the basics in today. We want to know what a cell is and that like there are lots of different kinds of cells. So I'm going to do this presentation now. Here's the link to the brain pop. Here's the login for the brain pop if you need it, right there. And that should be good for you. Okay, what is a cell? That's our question today. The cell is the smallest unit of life. How many cells are there in like the human body? About 7.5 trillion cells. That's a lot. That's so many that I can't really wrap my head around it, but it's a lot. And how long does a cell live? In this case, it really depends on the type of a cell. A human red blood cell usually lives about 120 days. For a skin cell usually lives for a few weeks. Muscle cell usually lives for 12 years. Brain cell usually lives for the entire life of a person. Some bacterial cells will only live for a day. So it really depends on the type of cell. Here's some skin cells, and you can see they're dead at the top. The top of your skin is, of course, dead cells. Here's some pictures of some muscle cells, which form together to form these larger fibers, and neurons, so brain cells. Very interesting shaped cell. So here's the brain pop. After the brain pop, take out your journal, draw 2 different types of cells from the video and label them. I want you to write a cell. What is a cell? A cell is the smallest unit of life. And then pick 2 and say, here are 2 examples. Just kind of write a little bit about those 2 examples. We want to get this idea that like there are different types of cells, but they're all like this single unit that is alive and that our body's made up of them. Great. Okay, at this point, you're probably done for the day. It's probably a lot of work, to be honest. But there's some really cool stuff down here for you to explore that we'll probably get to do a little bit more. And have a fun video if you want to check it out. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I'm going to stop recording now.